Hi, I'm a little late. But today we're going to speak to David Scott, who should be showing up any second now. Hold on. David Scott. So we were delayed from last week because David was hands tied, just couldn't do it. So we made it for today. It's going to be a little bit briefer. And I'm going to... No, I'm not going to do anything. There he is. David, request. David, can you request to go live? Yes, you can. There you are. Finally. Hi.
Hello, honey. How are you?
I'm a couple minutes late. I apologize.
Me too.
Okay, good. I have no idea where my iPad is. I couldn't find a hairbrush. All kinds of things are happening over here. Instead of a hairbrush, I found this.
Oh, well, I don't think you should hit anybody with that, especially your nearest and dearest.
How are you,
look
David
great.
Scott? You've just
You're
had a haircut.
outside.
I am outside.
That's
It seemed
great.
like a safe place to be.
Oh, so it is a little overcast here. How about
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. Overcast as well. So I know you've got to go soonish, so I'm just going to jump right in.
Okay.
Tell me all about how you started to become a designer.
Well,
What's your creation myth?
well, it's not so much of a myth, actually. I was in the hotel and real estate business for about 5 years. And during that time, I really wanted to become an interior designer. So I decided to go back to school, to the New York School of Interior Design, where both of us actually serve on the incredible board there. And I graduated, I went for 2 years initially. And then the dean, Kerwin Kettler at the time, now this is way back 30 years ago, he said, you need to stay on and get a full BFA. And I said, well, I've got to get out and get to work. And, I can't, I already had a college degree, I have to, I got to get going. He said, well, what will it take? And I said, well, I don't know, scholarship. So anyway, so he offered me a full merit-based scholarship, and I continued and got a BFA from NYSID, and then became an interior designer while I was doing my thesis in my last year. I'd been interning with someone,
Anyone you can say?
Yeah, sure. Her name was Linda Blair. She was not that Linda Blair, but so she's an interior designer in Scarsdale, who used to be the president of ASID back then. So anyway, she was a good businesswoman, and so I learned a lot about business through her, the interior design business, and then I just started to, I got a client opportunity and then another one, and I just did it. It's like an amazing thing to, I guess, live your dream, right? To be able to actually create something that isn't a myth, that actually is reality.
And so that was like pretty speedy.
Yeah. I
like having your own business. When did you open your own business?
In 1990, I think. So it's 30 years now, maybe just 30 years. Long time. Yeah. And it was like sink or swim, it was like,
No, my husband has an expression that I love. It's, there is no plan B. We either land the plane or we crash the plane. I think it's right. It's kind of charming in a kamikaze pilot kind of way.
Exactly. It really is like that, though. You really are out there on your own,
Hustling.
And, flying. And
Are you completely out now? Are you at job sites?
Oh, yes, I do go. I thought, am I out? I'm out. Yeah, I go to job sites.
Good news, everybody.
I do go to job sites. I go masked and, make every, socially distant, do the whole thing. I have not been to any job sites in New York City, though. I've been doing everything outside of the city.
Uh-huh.
And Jim Fairfax, my wonderful design director who lives in the city, is doing the city stuff. So we're balancing that really well. He goes into the office. We have not opened the office like officially. I know you and I had spoken about doing that. And you have done that yet or not yet?
Well, we never closed it.
Uh-huh.
So
So someone was always going to the office during...
no, but they occasionally someone would go in and get drafting materials.
Right. Yeah.
It was in no way required, but it was like, hey, if you need anything and you feel safe, it's there. But I am. We're all in different states, so I've been going to job sites and then FaceTiming the person who's working on whichever project that is, and it's a great way for like a sentient being to take notes. Like my notes can be really great or they can really suck.
I relate to that. Yeah.
And so it's actually I have discovered some benefits to how to go about that.
Right. So that you're able to kind of direct things from afar, close up. Give me a good look at that.
You know, I'm just walking around and I'm like, did we order that dongle, something that I would not necessarily recall, and they're right there, and it's it's perfectly easy to do it that way until I feel safe enough to ask someone to accompany me. So just like you, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, people are definitely a little cautious, I would say, of course, as we all should be. And
what's a great project you're working on right now? Give us some like inspiration on this.
Oh, so we're working on a major, wonderful house for long-term clients in Hampton, ground up construction with a really wonderful architect. His name is Jason Paremba. It's called Jason Thomas Architects. Really good collaborator. It's a contemporary house on a property that I actually did the original house on.
Oh,
and they subdivided, they bought the whole property, subdivided.
So you know where the bodies are buried?
Yeah, I do. And so now they subdivided, and then on the part where the old pool house and pool was, is now where this new house is going to be. And they're selling the other house. So, but that house is going to be wonderful. We're working with Chris LaGuardia, LaGuardia Design, doing that incredible, like resort-like outside. And we're also working on a couple of projects in New York that are really wonderful, complete gut renovations there. And in Florida, we have a project, new construction on the ocean. And
when are you going to go there?
Well, they've been really great. They've been talking to me about, we're doing everything remotely at this point. There's feet on the ground there. And, so it's going fine. I don't know when, right now with the quarantine, you have to come back and quarantine for 2 weeks, supposedly, right? So that's, yeah. So, I mean, so I don't know. I don't know when I'm going to go, but it's early. They're just like pouring slab and stuff like that.
Okay, so, good. It's not something they need like David Scott is pouring.
Yeah. Yeah. And no, not at all. But they have like, ability now, with video, they take photographs as well and film. So, we're busy, actually. It's a nice thing. And a few new things that are coming down the pike, I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Knock on
What I love your style, as I mentioned in the post. I'm not sure if I met you at that Kips Bay where we were both doing rooms, but that's when your work really snapped into focus for me. And I was like, wow, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
And I know I give you these, what 3 words would you use to describe? And it's impossible to distill it down to 3. But tell me a little bit about what you think you're best at in your work. What's your superpower?
I think, that in terms of the actual work versus the client, right? So I think that there are 2 different skills, right? There's the client management, listening, interpreting, all of those aspects, which we have to be really good at. But I think when it comes down to stylistically, it's really about curation. I think that I look a lot at how do these things go together? Is it a collection of things? How do they, there's a thread. I guess one of my most important things is, what is that thread that kind of goes through the whole project? Like what actually is that? Is that a color? Is that texture? Is that a style? Meaning a historical style or furniture style. But I really do eclectic interiors. I don't really think of myself as I am a contemporary designer, but I can do traditional, you know, not like you can, but
Of course you can. But yeah,
well,
I never look at a room you do and don't, I always appreciate that there is a knowledge of history when I'm looking at your rooms, regardless of how contemporary they might be. Some contemporary rooms feel, to me, a more traditional soul, feel rootless, but yours always feel rooted.
and thank you. I think that has to do also with education in classical design. You know, so we were taught at NYSID, how to construct a room in the basic floor plan kind of classical way. And of course, I think that I always think about, is there a little table next to a chair? It isn't just about the photograph or the sculptural quality of something. It's actually, how does it relate to the next thing, and how does a human being exist in that space? So if we don't have a place to put something, if it isn't comfortable, to me, that's not great design. Yeah. So it can be gorgeous, but not be livable. So I think that's really where I spend a lot of time really thinking that through as I draw plans and as I look for furnishings. The relationship of those things is important.
What's your feeling about scaling furniture?
Well, listen, I think scale's super important, but sometimes it's really interesting to have something a little off scale, right? Something a little big that just kind of takes over, whether that's an oversized mirror, or even a small lamp where maybe I normally, it's more of a thing I'm doing more of now, where normally we put, a certain average size lamp, we'll say, and then all of a sudden we'll put like a little diminutive lamp on the table or something. And it actually kind of gives you that little pause. It still works, but it's more playful. But scale is super important to me. The relationships of everything within the room. We work with some of these spaces that are so enormous. It's like, how do you make it a human scale?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake people who are unfamiliar with our profession, if somebody just buys a house and they go to Restoration Hardware and buy something, they get everything in the same scale, and it just loses all the magic. Whether it's all jumbo, or maybe it's all antiques and it all looks like very leggy and tiny. There has to be, I think, what you were describing. You have to have the big and the small so you can't appreciate that something is big without seeing something small next to it.
Right. And I think editing is like super important. It's like when you get dressed, like take one thing off.
Right.
So it's like when you're finishing, styling a room, you look around and you go, let me just take that away.
Yeah.
I just did that actually at an install here in Watermill, where we were styling some shelves with beautiful ceramics from the end of history and BAC gallery, like really lovely things. And there was a mix of ceramic and bronze pieces, and we just took, the client and I just took a couple of things away, put them on the side, and all of a sudden it snapped to attention. And breathes. Things have to breathe. There's just a little air around things is really helpful. That doesn't mean sparse.
Right.
I don't like this.
Right. No. It means well thought out.
Yeah, and also it's just that idea that you should look at things carefully. Like you may have even planned it one way. Have you ever done that? Like where you plan to put this chair in this location, and then you get to the room and you're assembling it all, and you're like, that chair would be better over there.
Yeah.
And you can't really be a slave to your furniture plan always. I mean, you should.
But yeah, sometimes I feel like, oh, that's God decorating. God doesn't want it to be there.
Right. Or that thing is hideous. Get it out of here.
Yeah.
But it is definitely an interesting profession we're in, because we, you know, create these environments that, where there was nothing. Oh, you're gone.
I'm gone. But
And the door, wait, your door just
my
opened.
baby.
Oh, there's your
It blew
baby.
open. Here's my
Oh
baby.
my God, look.
He's a little munchkin.
Oh, what is his name?
His name is Percival Aurelius.
Oh.
Percy,
Well, I have to
short.
get Quincy. I have to go
Percy.
get him.
But oh, it's just a whoopee.
So sweet. How old is he?
He is 12 weeks.
I was gonna say, I didn't know you just got a puppy. Was it last week?
Like 2 weeks ago.
Oh my God! What a sweetheart. What is his breed?
He's a Bichon Poo. Okay, I'm not taking away the decorating talk to talk about my.
Okay, well, it's hard not to.
Boyfriend.
This is the cutest dog in the world. So.
But
so cute. Good luck with him. He's beautiful.
Do you have all of the things that you're going to put into the room, or do you? You know, I'm torn about this. Sometimes I know I've heard Bunny Williams say you should put every little ass stick in, because when people walk in and see it, they'll be like, they won't be able to part, you know, to dismantle it, because they'll have seen it at the apogee of the vision for it. But sometimes, you know, with lamps, for example, hold on a second. I feel like I really want to see them in the room to see the scale. And there are a few things that I don't want to, I don't know. I'm of two minds. Sometimes I want to have it all, and sometimes I'd like a second phase. But from a business point of view, the second phase is dangerous, because there can be spending fatigue between phase one and phase two.
Sure.
What's your take on that?
So I think that it's not always our decision, right? Sometimes people are phasing things for a variety of reasons.
Oh, sure.
But I really like to do the big reveal. I don't want the client to be anywhere nearby.
I hate it when they're around during.
I just think it's so much more exciting for them. To walk in to this incredibly done space. I mean, my favorite moment is when they walk in and their mouths drop and they cry. You know, out of joy. It's the best. I mean, it's like, oh my God, all of this is worth it. Look at their faces. Look at their, you know, the emotion that you can bring about. I've had clients where they said, you know, I never knew I could ever live in anything like this. Like, they're so grateful. You know, they really appreciate it. They're not jaded, despite their wealth, many of them, and they're really appreciative. But I do think that moment of big reveal. We have like a cocktail.
You want to blow them away.
Right. And we have like a cocktail party usually if it's in the evening or a breakfast or whatever it is, depending on the time of day that they're coming. And then we also lately now we take videos, but we don't share them online or anything, but we share them with the client. And so not so long ago, we did one for these really wonderful clients of mine. And he carried her over the threshold, which was lovely. I mean, you know, they're married for, I'm sure, 30 years. And so obviously he works out. So because she's a, you know, regular, normal, beautiful woman.
Yes.
And so he carried her over and they walked in, and it's just so rewarding to see that kind of reaction. So I love it when it's done perfectly. I do think it's harder for them to dismantle. I think Bunny is right when they see things, but there'll be time, you know, they'll go around and they'll say, oh my God, that cost that much? Like,
yeah. We put little labels on, discreetly placed labels.
Yes.
So if they're interested, they can look at it.
Like underneath that vase. But you know, it is fun. And I do think that it's more, you know, a full service business like ours and yours. I think that really, that's what they're paying for.
Yeah.
I mean, now listen, they often have their own collections.
Does that add a week to the install purpose?
Certainly it adds a lot. I don't know about a whole week, but it certainly adds time, you know, because you're going through everything. It depends on the size of the project. But, you know, we probably sell 90% of the things that we put in. Yeah. So sometimes.
So that's like great business instruction for people.
Yes. I think you have to take that You have to do things on approval. Essentially what it is that you have to have relationships with vendors who are fine with you taking things on approval. And then you just have a period of time that the client has to decide.
Yeah.
And so you have to let and be communicative about that, and that the client's going to get that and tell them that.
Yeah.
So
You're
that
not
they
gonna
know
have
that they have to.
months.
Right.
This is a week.
But I think that, you know, it's like when I talk about art in an interior, and you do this beautiful interior, and then they don't have any art, and they don't want to get it, and it's okay. It's very occasional that this happens.
Yeah.
But it's like there's no soul then. Like it's like, where's, you know, those beautiful walls? They have a beautiful wall finish on them, or, you know, whatever. But they need,
you know,
art.
What's a great
Art's so important.
The picture light.
Yes,
a
yes.
outlet in the middle of the wall. No,
So they have to put something there.
That also pisses people off. But you need it if you intend to have a painting there one day. You need to have that clock outlet.
Yeah, unless you have, you know, overhead lighting by our friend Nathan Orsman.
Oh yes, by Nathan Orsman. Yeah, lighting is a very easy thing. And those kinds of lighting. Oh,
Mickey has said there's 2 questions for us. Mickey, let me see what he asked. He said, how do you know when a room is complete? And will this lockdown bring back the study library? And if so, how would you design that room?
You go first.
So, first of all, you know a room is complete. Never. No. I think when you can't fit anything else in it. But you know, I think when it feels good, you know, when you've got enough stuff, right? And so that's when it feels complete to me. And when people are in it, emptiness of humans is definitely not a complete room. And but I think the study library is totally back. I think many extra rooms might be back after this lockdown, because, you know, we're not used to, we don't really have a lot of private spaces in many of us. So I think it's nice to have a place to go and retreat and read, and, you know, and not be driven by television or work. So I love a library. I don't personally have one here in the Hamptons. I have a library in the city, and that's my favorite room. It's dark and sexy
and filled with all these books you love.
Books. Your books.
My answer to that is that I think, well, my father used to say a room is finished when the last bill is paid. Slightly,
so there you go.
Cynical response. No, that's I think he was saying that in the context of, for a bad client, the job is done when the last bill is paid. For a good client, the job is never done. You know, because you have a relationship and it evolves. But I think there is a point, which you were saying, when it feels good, where especially we are tempted to keep mucking around with it, and we must resist those impulses. Because when it's right, there is a tipping point where it can go wrong if you keep messing. So so it is something that you experience. You experience how right it feels at a certain moment, and that's when it's got to be hands off. No needle pointed pillows, no paper weights, like stop yourself. No more framed family photos. You know, you still have to put a drink down. And then I don't think the library's ever gone away. I still feel like it's a necessity. People see it as a necessity. But for New Yorkers, it has become the dining room. They do double duty to justify the fact that if you have, if real estate is so expensive or just so rare to find that extra room, it makes sense to double duty a room that you would otherwise only spend two meals a day in. Mm-hmm. Whether it's breakfast and dinner or lunch and dinner, I don't know. So my husband has his whole setup in our dining room, and it's got books on maps all over the walls, and so that's a nice way to double down it. But now that we all need desks, to your point, David, it can't, you know, another room with a desk might be more important than a guest room.
Well, particularly now when
yeah,
we don't really
if things like this are going to become part of our life, you know, we need desks.
Yeah, desks and shelves.
And what?
Bookshelves.
Oh, yeah.
And storage and, you know, I don't know if you're doing what I'm doing, but I've created a whole new library, albeit not attractive, like the one in our office. But, you know, I'm just getting every day that FedEx packages arrive with more samples, and because I honestly cannot do anything unless I touch it. It's such a big thing to like know how it feels when you are, you know, whether it's a textile or anything, you know, wood surface, like pretty much every material, I want to touch it.
And you can't see online what that
I mean, I think you can get a good idea, and I think that
you can get to the ballpark, but then you need a sample.
Many companies are doing a really good job now of, you know, really high res photographs and showing like how something drapes, and you know, because I think they know that we couldn't get to the showrooms, but
if you're going to be putting like a red next to another red that you think is the same color, you have to see them together in person. Somebody write it, Pat Robinson. Hey, Pat, how do you feel about Venetian blinds?
I think they're great when they're wood.
And
I don't really like metal Venetian blinds. Pardon?
I have grown up with Venetian blinds in our apartment, my parents' apartment. The like true Venetian blinds that are sort of plastic and sort of, they appear to be transparent, but they are opaque. And while I now consider that a very office building-y thing to do, they do have their uses, especially in bathrooms. If I can do a valance and then have a Venetian blind behind it, you know, because people aren't drawing their curtains in a bathroom. But I mostly do a valance and then a cafe curtain.
Right, and then the adjustability of it, right? So you can still allow light control and then get some privacy. Our friend Amir is there. Hi, Amir. Hello.
Hi, Amir.
So that's how we feel about Venetian blinds.
Damn it.
That's it.
Now you've just moved out of one house out east, and you're in a rental.
Yes.
Is this rental apartment going to be it, or are you going to seek another house at some point?
Oh, definitely seek another house. Yeah, definitely.
What's it going to look like?
I don't know yet. It's so hard. Right now, it's like a crazy market out here in the Hamptons. It's like everything that looks interesting is gone in a day or two. I've never seen anything like it. It's unlike, well, everyone's retreating to the country, right? To try to find a safe place and fresh air and space for their kids. And so I don't think it's really the moment for us right now. So, but I do believe that, I mean, I've lived out here for 20 years, so I've had a number of houses, and we'll find another one. You know, I'm not like, I don't have like a burning.
Are you a collector of houses? Like, do you go in and out frequently?
I wasn't until more recently. You know, probably, yeah, I wasn't. The first house I was in for like 14 years in Watermill, so it was there a long time. But no, I actually am more, lately I'm moving around a lot, but I would say that I'm definitely usually more of a person who, once I settle, I like to be there. But I definitely am interested in staying in the general environment.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like go, okay, Connecticut now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Connecticut's fabulous, but like, I wouldn't just, you know, pick up and move somewhere else so easily. Because to me, where you live is so much about the people you love around you, you know, your friends and your relationships. And also, most of our clients live out here. Pardon?
I said your community.
Yes, exactly.
Somebody has asked, what is your favorite blue paint color, light to dark?
Okay. Well, the lightest blue color I like, I don't know the name of. It's kind of a very pale gray blue. Um, it's a Benjamin Moore color, and I use it a lot on ceilings because it's like the sky and it
Right.
changes a bit.
And on
So
porches and
yeah, it's like a beautiful light blue. And my favorite dark blue is Hague Blue by Fowler and Ball.
love Hague blue.
I just love it.
Farrah and Ball's blues, as a rule, are pretty amazing. Their
It's all
Hague
those.
blue. I love their oval room blue. Is a medium
Mhm.
blue that I have in my family room, and their light blue is heaven. But some people see it as green, and so when I'm getting into one of those green blue flights with somebody, I'm like, oh, well, let's look at the name. But it is like an aqua-y color.
Yeah, and it is interesting how, which is probably one of the hardest things for people to understand, is how paint looks different at all different times of the day. And you know, we'll even have someone say, well, you know, now the room feels like it's a different color. And I'm like, yeah, that's how it goes. At night, it gets, you know, darker, certain pigments come out more.
Or they vibrate upon each other.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of paint, the changeability of color, and how that with light changes is not something that should be thought of as a problem. It should be thought of as the amazing benefit of color. And that, you know, even certain whites, which my favorite white is Benjamin Moore White Dove. It's like my go-to, and that looks different always and around everything. And also remember, paint also has a lot to do with what's around it, right? So what other colors are in the room reflecting off of it. And you know that, like if you have a red sofa, that's gonna kind of gleam onto the wall. So it's really nice. You know, you're a masterful person with color, so you know all about that.
So, and it just I like got drunk with love when I heard the word masterful headed in my
Well, you
head.
are.
So Mickey would like to know, he says he's being greedy again, what are your thoughts on mid-century modern architecture and furniture?
Love. I mean, there isn't a moment that I don't love mid-century, but I have to say that an interior nowadays, if you have predominantly mid-century furniture, you need to inject other things into it. I'm not interested in a period, you know, mid-century like Palm Springs moment. But there's nothing really more interesting to me than the fact that technology and engineering and all those things had advanced to a certain point where that's where mid-century modernism kind of came in, you know, because they could actually create lots, you know, en masse, these kinds of structures. So I love mid-century modern, especially when it's textural, you know, when they use brick and other materials that give it, you know, pattern and density and more depth.
I think I enjoy some mid-century modern, but I agree with everything you just said about it can't be all mid-century modern. My father was interviewed, I think he was 40, so it would have been in 1980. And they were asking him about a certain English kind of design that would have, you know, gray flannel and Pembroke tables and wing chairs. And his observation was that it had gotten so ubiquitous that it became the language of offices. So when you saw certain pieces over and over again, you would just think like that's what a gentleman's office looked like, you know, that a decorator would come in and decorate it such that there are also almost quotation marks around the style. Like this is the appropriate, like a little black dress. This is the appropriate style for an office. And mid-century now, because it is so ubiquitous and because it's been adapted and ripped off, and now you can buy it cheaply at a Pottery Barn or a Crate and Barrel or anywhere, you name it. The specialness of it has, it's almost like familiarity breeds contempt. It speaks of a very specific look, and it was too concentrated for too long, from like 2005 on, that I think we need a breather. I think there's definitely room for, I mean, all of those shapes are really energetic and exciting, but I need to break up with them for a little bit. I need to see other people. Yeah, I think you're frozen, or you're just so aghast by what I said. Oh, David. All right, well, I'm going to pretend that you just said, Alexa, that is riveting. Thank you for that. To which I would respond, you, David.
I missed you. Because I'm back. Somehow we had a bad connection.
So I just said so many wise things, and you agreed with me.
Yes, I did. But, I think that, what you're speaking about, I think, is something that has happened in design repeatedly, which is, people see a trend and mass marketers go after that and, knock it off. And I think that, I think there's nothing wrong with that if you understand that that's what that is, and that they're trying to bring design to people, that can't afford to buy the vintage thing or whatever. But it is anything in totality, like just this, one that is just boring. So it's, I'm not, it has to have interesting other things. There's no room is good without an antique. Yeah. And sometimes their clients don't want them. I mean, and I somehow figure out a way to get something in with patina, because that's really what gives people a sense of character and place. And you have this door that keeps opening behind you. It's like Elijah or whoever, or a ghost or whatever is coming out and coming in. Oh.
Yeah, it's breezy. It's breezy over here.
Is it?
Inga Gilham wants your advice for a young Irish interior designer who would love to work for a top class company like you guys.
I'm breaking.
So did you get that?
Are you there?
What advice would you give to a young interior designer who would love to work for a top company like yours?
So I would say advice is to have a portfolio and to enthusiastically write a proper cover letter that is specific to the firm that you are interested in and why you're interested. Not just some form letter.
Yeah.
It should reveal who you are.
Mark Hampton, it's really not going to be.
Oh, it's really not. Okay. So I think that that's the best advice, is to be super professional about it and personal. And when you just send things out and you think that you're, going to get some kind of response that way, I think that you're mistaken to think that we're looking for individuals who bring their own character and their own talents and their own confidence to our firms, and so that they can grow. And that's basically, so that would be my advice.
And I would add to that and say, I know a lot of companies, not my own, but many companies had to furlough their employees during coronavirus. So I'm not sure they're going to be hiring just yet. If that is your experience and you don't feel that you can get a job right now, you might want to then go to a school like NYSID and take some refresher classes. Or if this young Irish decorator is in Ireland, do them online. Get some new tricks in your bag, so when things become a little more normal, you won't have, you'll still have something to show for yourself.
I think that that's critical, to not sit back, right? And the most important thing is to say, oh, see something as an opportunity rather than a drawback. And if you can, and online learning is incredible, especially at NYSID. We have an enormous program now, probably the leaders in online learning for interior design. and it's effective, and the studios can actually be taught that way. So I think that that's really good, great advice, Alexa. I think that getting more tools into your toolbox or belt is
because
really important.
I
And do you see who's on right now? Chris Fitzmiller. Hi.
I do worry
Hi,
about
Chris.
those firms that got rid of people, or want to hire them back immediately. Of course, I don't see them bringing on people that maybe they don't know yet. They still have to get their gang back together.
Yes.
And
Yes.
for David wants to know, what inspires your design and business sense right now?
I don't think that much has changed in terms of the way I think, except one thing: to be more open, to listen more to the people that I work with. I think that it's because now we're not always standing over someone's shoulder and having that level of relationship. So, but I think in terms of business, I think just run it the same way you always did, except that it's
Except
more challenging.
Save more in your emergency fund.
Save more money, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
you know, but I have always been a person who was kind of religious about that. And I could give advice to young people in business who are starting out. I would say take 10 to 20% of every single fee that you get and put it in a separate account than your checking account, in a savings account. And then as you do that, and obviously you may need to use it for many, many things, but if you separate it, it at least has a chance
for it. Yeah,
at least has a chance of not moving out as quickly. So that would be other advice I would give a person in business, a young person.
Well, wonderful. Now, I think you need to go to do your Tuesday.
I have to do my Tuesday to two, which you did. You were one of my first guests, and it was wonderful. Thank you for that. And today I have. You're keeping me hanging, David. Wait, this is like suspenseful. David, you have. Oh my goodness gracious. I think I've just lost David. Or maybe that was his exit plan all along. I'm gonna be back on Thursday, and you'll know tomorrow with whom I will be back. And have a great week. I will also not have roots when you see me next. I will just be a platinum blonde. So I'm looking forward to offering that to you guys. Have a great Tuesday, everybody, and go watch David Scott right now. Oh, Blaze McCoy. Go watch him with Blaze at 2:00. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Turning off. Nope, still turning off. Teasing you now.